The transfer student. The morning sun came through the windows of Lincoln Heights High School. Students walked through the halls, talking and laughing. Lockers opened and closed with loud metal sounds. It was a normal Monday morning in September. In Mr. Patterson's biology class, the students took their seats. They were tired and bored, still waking up from the weekend. Nobody paid much attention when the door opened one more time. A girl walked in. She had brown hair and brown eyes. She wore simple clothes, jeans, and a plain shirt. Nothing special. Nothing that would make anyone look twice. Her name was Emma. At least, that was the name on her transfer papers. But Emma was not Emma, and the thing wearing her body was very, very far from home. 3 days before this morning, a small ship fell from the sky over the Nevada desert. It did not crash like a meteor. It landed softly, hiding itself in a canyon where no humans could see. The ship was not made of metal like human machines. It was made of something darker, something that seemed to drink the light around it. From the ship came a creature. It had no true form of its own. Its species had evolved over millions of years to become the perfect hunters. They could change their bodies to look like anything. They could copy any living thing they touched. They were called the Watchers, and they had been doing this work for 10,000 years. The Watcher had a mission. The Galactic Concord, a group of 4,000 alien civilizations, had sent it to study Earth. This planet was marked as dangerous in their records. It was called a Deathworld, a place where everything wanted to kill everything else. The creatures here lived in poison air, under a burning star, with gravity that would crush most species. And the dominant species, the humans, were the most dangerous of all. At least, that was what the old report said. The Watcher needed to see for itself. It found Emma on a hiking trail, alone. She was a college student on vacation, taking pictures of rocks and plants. She never saw the Watcher coming. She never felt any pain. One moment she was looking at a flower. The next moment she was asleep inside her own mind, and something else was wearing her body like a coat. The Watcher absorbed her memories like drinking water. It learned her name, her birthday, her favorite foods. It learned how to smile like her, walk like her, speak like her. It learned that she was supposed to start in a new school in a small town called Lincoln Heights. Her family had just moved there. Perfect. A new student in a new place. Nobody would know what Emma was supposed to be like. Nobody would notice if something was a little bit wrong. Now the Watcher sat in biology class, watching humans for the first time up close. It had studied the Concord's files for weeks before coming here. It knew that humans were weak. They had no claws, no fangs, no poison. Their skin was soft and easy to cut. They could not run fast or see in the dark. They should have been prey animals, food for stronger creatures. But they had conquered this planet. They had killed everything that threatened them. They had spread to every corner of this world, from frozen ice to burning desert. How? The Watcher watched and learned. Mr. Patterson was talking about cells, the tiny building blocks of life. The Watcher already knew this information. Its species had understood biology for millions of years. But it pretended to listen, pretended to take notes, pretended to be just another bored teenager. Around it, the humans did strange things. A boy in the back was drawing pictures instead of taking notes. Two girls were passing small papers to each other, communicating in secret. A boy near the window was sleeping with his eyes open, a trick that impressed the Watcher. They were so relaxed, so careless. They did not watch for danger. They did not check the exits. They acted like nothing in the universe could hurt them. This made no sense. The Watcher had been to 47 worlds. Every intelligent species it had studied lived in fear. They watched for predators. They slept in shifts. They never truly relaxed because relaxation meant death. But these humans sat in a room with all the windows closed and only one door. And they did not care at all. Were they stupid? Or were they so dangerous that they had forgotten what fear felt like? The Watcher was still thinking about this when the class ended. The bell made a loud ringing sound that hurt its borrowed ears. Students jumped up and rushed to the door, pushing against each other. The Watcher moved with them, copying their behavior. In the hallway, it observed more strange things. Humans touched each other constantly. They put their arms around each other. They hit each other on the shoulders and laughed. On most worlds, touching a stranger like this would start a fight. But humans did it for fun. The Watcher felt something bump against its shoulder. It turned and saw a girl with red hair and a wide smile. "Hey, you're Emma, right? The new girl?" The girl did not wait for an answer. "I'm Rachel. We have the same lunch period. Want to sit with me?" The Watcher hesitated. This was not part of the plan. It was supposed to observe from a distance, not make connections with the native species. Connections were dangerous. Connections made the mission complicated, but refusing would draw attention. A normal human girl would say yes. "Sure," the Watcher said, using Emma's voice. "That would be nice." Rachel smiled even wider. "Great. Come on. I'll show you where the good food is. The pizza here is trash, but the chicken sandwiches are actually okay." She grabbed the Watcher's hand and pulled it through the crowd. The Watcher let itself be pulled, surprised by the strength in this small human's grip. Surprised, too, by the warmth of her hand. It had touched thousands of creatures on dozens of worlds. It had never felt warmth like this. Humans ran hot, their blood burning at temperatures that would kill most species. They were like small fires walking around, leaking heat into the cold universe. The Watcher followed Rachel to the cafeteria. It ate food that tasted like nothing, smiled at jokes it did not understand, and answered questions about its fake life. It was performing, acting, pretending to be something it was not. But somewhere in the back of its ancient mind, a small thought formed. A thought it quickly pushed away because it was too dangerous to consider. What if pretending started to feel real? The impossible species. 2 weeks passed. The Watcher went to classes, ate lunch with Rachel, and watched everything. It filled its mind with information about humans, storing every detail like a scientist collecting samples. But the more it learned, the more confused it became. The Concord's files on humans were wrong, not just incomplete. Wrong. The file said humans were weak, slow, fragile. They were supposed to be a minor species, barely worth studying. But the Watcher was starting to think that whoever wrote those files had never actually met a human. It started in gym class. The teacher, a large man named Coach Davis, made the students run around the track. The Watcher ran with them, careful to stay in the middle of the group, not too fast and not too slow. It watched the humans run and noticed something strange. They did not stop. Most species could run fast for short distances. The Watcher's true form could move at incredible speeds for a few minutes, but then it had to rest. Every predator in the galaxy worked this way. Chase, catch, kill, rest. That was the natural order of things. But the humans just kept running, around and around the track, lap after lap, their bodies dripping with water. The Watcher later learned this water was called sweat, and it was how humans kept their bodies cool. They were natural cooling machines, built to run forever. Coach Davis told them about something called a marathon. Humans would run for 42 kilometers without stopping, for fun. They did this for entertainment. The Watcher searched its memories of other worlds. No species did this. No species could do this. On most planets, such behavior would be considered a sign of mental illness, but humans celebrated it. They gave each other medals for running until their bodies broke. In history class, the Watcher learned about human wars. It had seen wars before. Every species with enough intelligence eventually fought over territory and resources. This was normal. Human wars were not normal. The teacher showed pictures on a screen. Trenches filled with mud and bodies. Cities turned to ash in seconds. Weapons that could kill millions of people with one flash of light. The students looked bored. They had seen these pictures before. This was old news to them. The Watcher was not bored. The Watcher was horrified. These creatures had invented ways to kill each other that the Concorde had never imagined. They had created poison gas that melted lungs. They had built bombs that burned everything for kilometers. They had designed weapons specifically to cause the most pain possible, not for any strategic reason, but because pain made their enemies afraid. And they had used these weapons on each other, not on aliens, not on different species, on other humans. Creatures that looked exactly like them, that spoke similar languages, that lived just a few kilometers away. They had slaughtered their own kind by the millions. The Watcher thought about its own species. The Watchers were predators. They killed to survive, to eat, to complete their missions. But they did not kill each other. The idea was absurd. Why would you destroy your own kind? Humans had no such limits. They would kill anything, including themselves. After class, the Watcher walked through the hallway in a daze. It was still processing this information when it heard a loud crash from the gymnasium. Inside, a group of boys were playing basketball. The Watcher knew this game. It was a mock hunt, a simulation of chasing and catching. Many species had similar games. But as it watched, something happened that made its borrowed blood run cold. A boy named Jake jumped for the ball. Another boy's elbow hit him in the face. There was a wet cracking sound. Jake fell to the ground, and blood poured from his nose. The Watcher tensed, ready to see violence. On most worlds, this would start a fight. Blood meant danger. Blood meant death was close. Jake sat up. He looked at the blood on his hands. He touched his broken nose, and he laughed. "Nice one, Mike," he said, his voice thick with blood. "You got me good." The other boy, Mike, looked worried. "Sorry, man. You okay?" "I'm fine. Just need a minute." Jake tilted his head back and pinched his nose shut. Blood ran down his chin and dripped onto his shirt. He was still smiling. "Let's finish the game. I'm not losing because of a little nosebleed." The other boys laughed too. They slapped Jake on the back and went back to playing. Like nothing had happened. Like one of them not just broken bones and lost blood. The Watcher stood frozen at the door. It had lived for 400 years. It had killed creatures on 47 worlds. It had faced predators with claws the size of swords and teeth that could cut through metal. It had never been afraid. Not truly afraid. Now, watching a teenage boy laugh at his own broken body, the Watcher felt fear crawl up its spine like a cold insect. What were these creatures? The Concorde had called humans prey animals. Soft, weak, defenseless. But prey animals did not laugh at pain. Prey animals did not invent nuclear weapons. Prey animals did not run marathons for fun or kill millions of their own kind in wars that lasted for years. These were not prey animals. These were something else entirely. Something the Concorde had never seen before. That night, the Watcher sat in Emma's bedroom and stared at the ceiling. It was supposed to send a report to the Concorde. It was supposed to tell them what it had learned about humans. But what could it say? The files were wrong. Humans were not weak. They were terrifying. They were monsters wrapped in soft skin and friendly smiles. They had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every single day. And they had become so strong that they did not even notice danger anymore. Pain was a joke to them. Death was a game they played with each other for fun. The Watcher thought about its mission. It was supposed to decide if humans could be controlled, if they could be contained, if they needed to be destroyed before they spread to the stars. For the first time in its long life, The watcher did not know the answer. Closed Emma's eyes and pretended to sleep, while inside its ancient mind, a single thought repeated like a warning bell. These creatures should not exist. They break every rule of nature. They are impossible, and somehow, impossibly, they were everywhere. The friendship problem 6 weeks into its mission. The watcher had a problem it did not understand. The problem was Rachel. Rachel was a human girl with red hair and a laugh that sounded like music. She talked too much and smiled too often. She sent text messages at all hours of the night, just to share funny pictures or ask random questions. She dragged Emma to football games, movie nights, and something called a sleepover where humans stayed awake all night talking about nothing important. The watcher had never experienced anything like this. On its homeworld, relationships were simple. You formed alliances when you needed something. When you no longer needed the alliance, you ended it. There was no emotion involved, no attachment, no weakness. But Rachel wanted nothing from Emma. She did not need help with homework. She did not want money or protection. She simply liked being around Emma. She liked talking to her. She liked making her laugh. At first, the watcher played along because it was part of the disguise. A normal human girl would have friends, so Emma had to have friends too. It was simple logic. But somewhere along the way, something changed. The watcher found itself looking forward to Rachel's text messages. It found itself smiling at her jokes, real smiles that started somewhere deep inside Emma's borrowed chest. It found itself worrying when Rachel was sad and feeling happy when Rachel was happy. This was wrong. This was dangerous. The watcher knew it should pull back, create distance. Remember that it was not really Emma and Rachel, was not really its friend. But every time it tried to be cold, Rachel would do something warm, and the watcher would forget why it was supposed to be careful. One Friday night, Rachel invited Emma to a party at a boy named Derek's house. The watcher did not want to go. Parties were loud and confusing, full of humans doing strange things. But Rachel begged, and the watcher could not say no. The party was exactly as bad as the watcher expected. Music so loud it hurt Emma's ears. Bodies packed together in every room. The smell of sweat and alcohol and something sweet burning in the kitchen. Humans everywhere, laughing and shouting and dancing in ways that made no biological sense. Rachel disappeared into the crowd to find drinks. The watcher stood alone by a wall, watching the chaos and wondering how these creatures had ever survived as a species. They were so careless, so trusting. Any predator could walk into this room and take whatever it wanted. Then the watcher saw Rachel again. She was near the back door, and she was not alone. A boy stood too close to her. His name was Tyler, and he was Rachel's ex-boyfriend. The watcher had heard stories about Tyler. He was mean. He did not accept that Rachel had ended their relationship. He still acted like she belonged to him. Rachel's body language was wrong. Her shoulders were tight. Her smile was fake. She was trying to move away, but Tyler kept stepping closer, blocking her path. The watcher watched from across the room. This was not its business. Its mission was to observe, not to interfere. If a human male wanted to threaten a human female, that was their species' problem. The watcher should stay where it was, gather data, and do nothing. Tyler grabbed Rachel's wrist. She tried to pull away. He squeezed harder. The watcher was moving. Before it made a decision to move, it crossed the room in seconds, sliding between dancing bodies like water through rocks. It did not think about what it was doing. It did not analyze or plan. Something in its borrowed brain, some ancient instinct from Emma's memories, or maybe something older, pushed it forward with a single purpose: protect her. Tyler saw Emma coming and laughed. She was just a small girl, shorter than him, thinner than him. What was she going to do? Emma stepped between Tyler and Rachel. "Let go of her." Her voice was different. Flat. Cold. Like ice that had never seen the sun. Tyler's laugh died in his throat. He looked into Emma's eyes and saw something there that did not belong. Something old and hungry and not human at all. Just for a moment, his monkey brain, the ancient part that remembered when his ancestors were prey, screamed a warning he could not understand. He let go of Rachel's wrist. "Whatever," Tyler muttered. His voice was shaky. "She's not worth it anyway." He walked away fast, almost running. He would not remember why he was so afraid. He would tell his friends that Emma was crazy, that there was something wrong with her. But he would never come near Rachel again. Rachel grabbed Emma's hand. Her eyes were wet. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." The Watcher did not know what to say. It had just broken its most important rule. It had interfered with the native species. It had used its predator instincts to threaten a human. If the Concord found out, there would be consequences. But looking at Rachel's grateful face, the Watcher could not make itself regret what it had done. "Are you okay?" The Watcher asked with Emma's voice. Rachel nodded. "I am now. Thanks to you." She squeezed Emma's hand. "You're a good friend, Emma. The best friend I've ever had." The Watcher felt something crack inside its borrowed chest. A wall it had not known was there, breaking into pieces. It was a Watcher. It was a predator. It was a weapon of the Galactic Concord, built to infiltrate and observe and report. It was not supposed to have friends. It was not supposed to care about anyone. But looking at Rachel, the Watcher realized something terrible. Something that changed everything. It cared. It really, truly cared. And that meant the mission was already over. Because how could the Watcher report on humans as threats when one of them had become the most important thing in its 400-year life? That night, walking home under the stars, Rachel talked and laughed like nothing bad had happened. The Watcher listened to her voice and looked up at the distant lights in the sky. Somewhere out there, the Concord was waiting for a report on whether humans should be destroyed. The Watcher did not send a report that night, or the next night, or the night after that. It just kept pretending to be Emma, and kept being Rachel's friend, and tried not to think about the day when it would have to choose between its mission and the girl who had taught it what friendship meant. The discovery the man watching the school did not look like a spy. He looked like a tired, middle-aged man in a gray suit, drinking coffee in a parked car. Nothing special. Nothing dangerous. But Marcus Webb was very dangerous indeed. Webb worked for an agency that did not officially exist. It had no name, no building, no website. Its job was simple. Find things that were not supposed to be on Earth and deal with them. For 30 years, Webb had been finding and dealing. He had seen things that would drive most people crazy. But he was still here, still working, still watching. 3 months ago, something had crashed in the Nevada desert. Webb's team found the landing site, but whatever had landed was gone. The only clues were strange marks in the sand and radiation readings that made no sense. Something was out there. Something not human. And Webb was going to find it. His team had tracked unusual signals to this small town, to this high school. The signals were faint, barely there, like a heartbeat from something trying very hard to be quiet. Someone here was not what they seemed to be. Webb watched the students come and go. He watched the teachers, the parents, the janitors. He looked for mistakes, for moments when the mask slipped. Most people would never notice such moments. But Webb had been doing this for a long time. On his 3rd week of watching, he found her. The girl called Emma was almost perfect. She smiled at the right times. She talked like a normal teenager. She did everything a human would do, but she never made mistakes. Normal humans were messy. They tripped over their own feet. They forgot things. They scratched their noses and played with their hair and did 1,000 tiny unconscious movements every minute. Emma did none of these things. Every movement she made was precise and planned. She never wasted a single motion. Webb had seen this before, once, many years ago. A thing that looked human but was not. A thing wearing human skin like a costume. That thing had killed 7 of his agents before they brought it down. Webb was not going to make the same mistakes twice. He assembled his best team. 12 agents, all with special training, all with weapons that could hurt things that bullets could not kill. They would take Emma during the spring dance, when the school was full of people and chaos. In the confusion, they could grab her and be gone before anyone noticed. What Webb did not know was that the Watcher had noticed him on the first day. The Watcher had 400 years of experience staying alive. It knew what hunters looked like, even when they tried to hide. It had spotted Webb's car, traced his communications, learned his name and his agency and his plan. For weeks, the Watcher prepared to fight or run. It mapped every exit from the school. It studied Webb's agents, learning their faces and their habits. It calculated how many it could kill before they killed it. But as the spring dance grew closer, the Watcher realized something important. If it fought, it would win. Humans were tough and dangerous, but the Watcher was older and more experienced. It could kill Webb and his entire team without much difficulty. But then what? The humans would know aliens were real. They would know that something had come to Earth, worn a human face, and killed their people. They would not react with fear like most species. They would react with fury. The same fury that had built nuclear weapons and conquered their planet. They would hunt the Watcher across the stars if they had to. And someday, they would reach the Concorde. The Watcher thought about the Concorde's files. The thousands of species that lived in fear of each other, always watching for threats, always ready for war. What would happen when humans joined them? When these impossible creatures, these Deathworld monsters who laughed at pain and killed their own kind by the millions, when they spread out into the galaxy? The Concorde was not ready. No one was ready. But maybe they did not have to be. Maybe, if the Watcher was careful, there was another way. On the night of the spring dance, the Watcher made a choice that no Watcher had ever made before. It chose to lose. The gym was decorated with colorful lights and paper flowers. Music played from speakers. Students danced and laughed and took pictures together. Rachel was there in a blue dress, smiling and beautiful. Not knowing that this was the last night, she would see her best friend. The Watcher found a quiet corner and waited. Webb's agents moved through the crowd like shadows. They were good, but the Watcher saw them anyway. It watched them surrounded, cutting off every escape route. It felt the net closing tight. When they finally moved, it was fast and silent. A hand on Emma's arm. A whisper in her ear. Come with us quietly, or people will get hurt. The Watcher looked across the room at Rachel, who was dancing with a boy from her chemistry class. Rachel was happy. Rachel was safe. That was what mattered. Okay, the Watcher said. I will come. The agents looked surprised. They had expected a fight. They had expected blood and death and horror. Instead, the monster came quietly, like a lamb being led to its end. They took Emma through a back door, into a black van with no windows. They drove for hours, deep into the desert, to a building that did not appear on any map. And the whole time, the Watcher smiled, not because it had a secret plan to escape. It did not. Not because it thought the humans would let it go. They would not. But because for the first time in 400 years, the Watcher was going to tell the truth. The whole truth. And maybe, just maybe, that truth would change everything. The van stopped. The doors opened. Bright lights and armed soldiers and concrete walls. The Watcher stepped out into its cage and prepared to give the most important, speech of its very long life. The warning: the interrogation room was small and white. The walls were thick concrete, built to hold things stronger than humans. The only furniture was a metal table and 2 chairs. Everything was designed to make prisoners feel small and helpless. The Watcher did not feel helpless. It felt free. Marcus Webb sat across the table, separated from Emma's body by glass that was supposed to be unbreakable. The Watcher could have broken it with one hand. They both knew this. "What are you?" Webb asked. His voice was calm, but his heartbeat was fast. The Watcher could hear it through the glass. For a long moment, Emma's face was still. Then, slowly, it changed. Not physically. The skin and bones stayed the same. But something behind the eyes shifted, and suddenly Webb was not looking at a teenage girl anymore. He was looking at something ancient and alien, wearing human features like a loose mask. "I am a Watcher," it said. "My species has no name that your mouth can pronounce. We have been traveling between stars for longer than your kind has existed. I was sent here to study you." Webb did not react. He had expected something like this. "Study us for what?" "To decide if you should be destroyed." The words hung in the air like poison. Webb's face stayed calm, but his hands tightened under the table. "The Galactic Concord is a group of 4,000 spacefaring civilizations," the Watcher continued. "We have been watching your planet for a long time. Your world is classified as a Deathworld, a place of extreme danger. The gravity here is crushing. Your sun burns with radiation that would kill most species. Your bacteria alone destroyed 3 of our survey teams." "And us?" Webb asked. "What are humans classified as?" The Watcher smiled. It was Emma's smile, but colder. "That is the question, is it not? The Concord has been arguing about you for decades. Some say you are animals, barely intelligent, not worth the effort of destruction. Others say you are the most dangerous species in the known galaxy, and you should be wiped out before you discover faster than light travel." Webb leaned forward. "And what do you say?" "I say—" The Watcher paused, and for a moment it looked almost human, almost sad. "I say that the Concord has made a terrible mistake. They think they understand you. They do not." The Watcher stood and walked to the glass. It pressed Emma's hand against the surface, leaving a perfect print. "Your files say you are weak. Soft skin, no claws. Slow runners. You should be prey, food for stronger creatures. But you are not prey. You are something else entirely." It turned back to face Webb. "I have watched your children play games that simulate hunting. I have seen your young men break their bones and laugh about it. I have studied your history, your wars, your weapons. You have invented ways to kill each other that the Concord has never imagined. You have destroyed millions of your own kind in wars that lasted for years." Webb said nothing. He just listened. "But that is not what scares me," the Watcher said. "What scares me is that you do not see yourselves as dangerous. You walk through your lives without fear. You touch strangers and call them friends. You adopt predators as pets and let them sleep in your beds. You run for hours in the heat for no reason at all, just to prove that you can." The Watcher's voice grew softer. "And you love. You love so easily, so completely, without any thought for safety or survival. A girl named Rachel decided to be my friend for no reason at all. She gave me her time and her trust and her heart, and she wanted nothing in return." For the first time, Webb saw something in the creature's eyes that looked like pain. "I am 400 years old. I have visited 47 worlds. I have watched civilizations rise and fall, but I have never experienced anything like human friendship. Your capacity for connection is as terrifying as your capacity for violence. Maybe more so." Webb finally spoke. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to understand what is coming. The Concord is afraid of you. They have been debating for decades whether to destroy your planet. I was sent to find a reason to spare you, or a reason to condemn you. And what will you tell them?" The Watcher was quiet for a long time. When it spoke again, its voice was different, gentler, more human. "I will tell them to leave you alone. Not because you are harmless. You are the most dangerous species I have ever seen. Not because you can be controlled. You cannot. But because in 3 months at that school, I learned something the Concord never knew." It pressed both hands against the glass now, Emma's small fingers spread wide. "Humans are terrifying. But you are also kind. You are brutal and gentle, violent and loving, all at the same time. You are a contradiction that should not exist. And I think the galaxy needs you. I think maybe the Concord has been living in fear for too long, and you could teach them something important." Webb stood and walked to the glass. They were face to face now, human and alien, separated by only a few inches of material. "Will they listen to you?" "Maybe, maybe not. But I have to try." The Watcher stepped back. Its borrowed body began to shimmer at the edges, like heat rising from hot stone. "I am going to leave now. Do not try to stop me. You cannot." Webb did not try to stop it. He knew better. "One more thing," the Watcher said. Its voice was fading, its form becoming less solid. "Someday, your species will reach the stars. When you do, remember what I told you. The galaxy is full of fear and suspicion and ancient hatred. You could make it worse. Or you could make it better. How?" The Watcher smiled one last time with Emma's face. "Be human. Be terrifying and kind. Show them that both can exist in the same heart." And then it was gone, leaving nothing behind but a faint smell of ozone and a note written in perfect handwriting on the table. Webb picked up the note. It said, "Tell Rachel I am sorry I could not say goodbye. She was the best part of being human." In the Nevada desert, Emma woke up in a hospital bed with 3 months of missing memories and a feeling that she had forgotten something important. Doctors called it amnesia. Her parents called it a miracle. She called it strange because sometimes when she closed her eyes, she dreamed of stars. In the depths of space, a small ship carried a Watcher home to deliver a report that would change everything. For the first time in 10,000 years, a Watcher would recommend mercy. And in a classified building that did not exist, Marcus Webb started a new project. He called it First Contact. Its mission was simple: prepare humanity to meet the universe, not as prey, not as predators, but as something new, something impossible, something wonderfully, terrifyingly human. The stars were waiting, and humanity was almost ready to answer.